Today's recap is Men in Black. State Patrol agents pull over a van near the US-Mexico border. The driver insists he was just out fishing, so an officer asks to see his catch, only to find a bunch of strange-looking fish, or more likely, people the driver's smuggling. The officer instructs everyone to step out and starts giving legal advice to the driver when a car pulls up. Out steps Kay, who declares, "We'll take it from here." When the State Patrol officer asks for their identification, Kay claims they're from INS Division 6, which the officer has never heard of. Kay then shifts the topic, asking his partner, D, which one he's betting on. D replies, "It's a tough call." Kay speaks to each migrant one by one, stopping in front of one particular man. The man only laughs and nods in response, so Kay continues insulting his looks, but the man still smiles and nods. Finally, Kay calls him out for not understanding Spanish, and the man's continued nodding confirms it. Kay announces to D that they have their guy, telling the remaining migrants they're free to go, which the state trooper objects to, addressing Kay as Sir. Kay snaps back, "Don't sir me, young man," warning the officer he has no idea what he's dealing with. As the migrants head back to the van, Kay keeps hold of the suspect, telling the troopers they can leave. Kay and D then take their man off for questioning. The state troopers gather, questioning this so-called Division 6, noting it doesn't even exist. Meanwhile, Kay tells the ugly, non-Spanish-speaking man he must have fallen off the bus in the wrong part of town, and wagers he's not even from around here. Kay then pulls out a blade and plunges it straight into the man's chest, ripping him in half. As he steps back, Kay exclaims, "Mikey!" and the alien creature emerges, explaining he's here as a political refugee. D points out that Mikey's already broken 7 treaties, but Kay, clearly done with excuses, demands he hand over the head and orders Mikey to put up all his hands and flippers. The alien complies, until a state trooper appears over a ridge, stunned by the sight. Mikey flips one of his eyes backward, and angered by the agents, knocks D to the floor, who then struggles with his weapon. The alien charges toward the trooper, who screams while Kay repeatedly tells D to shoot. As Mikey gets closer to the trooper, Kay pulls out his own weapon, and the alien explodes into a burst of blue goop and silly string. Kay is revealed as the shooter who neutralized the alien, and the trooper, now in a stupor, stumbles toward him. Kay starts with "that" as the officer stammers, then completes the thought with "was not human," casually plucking Mikey's remains off the trooper's shoulder. Other state troopers begin to investigate the sources of the commotion. Kay calls for everyone's attention as a blacked-out truck pulls up. Kay pulls out a device referred to as a neuralizer, explaining that it erases memory. Other suited agents arrive, wielding flamethrowers, and begin decontaminating the area. Kay points to the neuralizer, telling the troopers this holds the answers to all their questions. One trooper leans in, asking who Kay really is. Donning sunglasses, Kay replies he's just a figment of their imagination before activating the neuralizer with a flash. As he removes his glasses, he tells the troopers they're lucky to have survived an underground gas explosion, adding a jab about weapon handling skills to the officer covered in blue sludge. He then directs them to get checked out by medical. Kay sits with D, who apologizes for his inability to handle Mikey. D gazes at the stars, remarking on their beauty and admitting he doesn't look at them anymore. He confides in Kay that he'll miss the chase. Kay, putting on his sunglasses, responds somberly, "No, you won't," as the neuralizer flashes. Later, we meet James Darrell Edwards III, an NYPD officer in hot pursuit of a suspect displaying inhuman abilities. But by using his quick thinking and resourcefulness, Edwards is able to catch up and pin the suspect to a wall before flashing his badge and shouting, "NYPD means I will knock your punk ass down," despite that silent K in there. As he begins to arrest the suspect, the man cries, "He's coming!" then pulling out a strange device. Edwards quickly defends himself, causing the device to fall and disappear in a fiery flash. The suspect escapes custody with a slick backflip and dashes toward the Guggenheim Museum. Guggenheim is such a fun name. Edwards sees the man leap up the building as he roars like a tiger. Being a New Yorker, this behavior isn't all that strange to him, but the man's ability to scale the wall is very unique. James races to the top of the building, cutting off the suspect before he can reach the exit staircase. As they meet face to face again, Edwards greets him at gunpoint with a casual, "What's up?" Backing away, the suspect starts muttering about having failed and warns that he is going to kill him. Dismissing the ramblings, James brushes it off until the suspect continues with, "You don't understand. Your world's gonna end," while blinking in an oddly inhuman way. Realizing he's not dealing with any ordinary crackhead, James asks, "What are you?" The man just smiles, walks to the building's edge, and leaps off, ignoring James's offer to fix his eyes. At a rural farmhouse, we hear a verbally abusive farmer scold his wife, noting that his truck is the only thing he owns that's worth anything, right before a disc-shaped object crashes into it. We meet Edgar, who heads out to investigate the cause of the damage. When his wife asks him what's going on, he snaps, telling her to get her big butt back in the house. As Edgar approaches the crater, a voice instructs him to place his projectile weapon on the ground, which he refuses, declaring they can take it from his cold, dead hands. Unfortunately, this turns out to be a terrible choice of words, as Edgar is pulled into the hole. This cow just stands by, as Edgar's cries echo, accompanied by the sounds of ripping and tearing. Edgar emerges from the crater looking significantly worse for wear. Say hello to Edgar the Bug, or as I like to call him, Mug, man plus bug. Back inside the house, Edgar's wife demands to know what happened, but Edgar, now Mug, brushes off her question, merely replying, "Give me sugar." She hands him a jar, to which he adds, "and water." She obliges with a glass containing a mere teaspoon of sugar, but Mug asks for more, prompting her to pour the whole jar into the glass. Mug downs it. Yummy. Edgar's wife then points out his skin is hanging loose, to which Mug responds by yanking his face back and asking if that's better. This sight sends her fainting, and Mug proceeds to roll his crashed disc from the crater outside. James is interviewed about his encounter with the strange man with multiple sets of eyelids, a claim that isn't exactly being taken seriously. After the other officers leave, Dr. Laurel Weaver, the deputy medical examiner, introduces herself to James, saying she believes him and asks him to meet her later. However, we see Kay flash her before he enters the interrogation room. Once inside, Kay unplugs the camera and clarifies that the man had gills, not eyelids. When prompted, Edwards recalls that the man told him the world was coming to an end, and Kay asks if he mentioned when, leaving the room silent for a moment. Kay then asks if James would recognize the weapon if he saw it, to which the officer responds, "Absolutely." Later, the two men arrive at a pawnbroker, but James, aware of the owner's history of selling stolen goods, is adamant that they don't sell weapons. We meet Jack Jeebs, and Edwards tells him that a little birdie mentioned the guns he sells. Jeebs denies the accusation. Kay walks in, asking about the imports, and pulls a gun when Jack continues to lie, before counting down from 3. James tries to reason with Jeebs, who tells Kay to calm down and take a cruise. Just then, Jeebs' head explodes, releasing green goo everywhere. James pulls his weapon and demands that Kay drop his gun, to which Kay defends his position, stating they both warned Jeebs. James looks toward the counter as a high-pitched voice begins complaining about how much that stings, and we see Jeebs' head grow back. Jeebs then presses a button, revealing the weapons, and James points out the one he encountered. Kay suspects the plan was to use it for an assassination and leaves once it's clear Jeebs didn't know who the target was. Now, outside, Kay shows James a neuralizer, and after it flashes, James finds himself in a Chinese restaurant with Kay. Edwards appears lost and asks Kay who he is. Kay responds, "You need to lay off the sauce," before handing him a card stamped with the letters M-I-B. He continues that he'll see James bright and early at 9 o'clock before leaving. James flips the card to reveal an address. The following day, we see Mug confront an exterminator, taking great offense to the word pest. Mug gives the man a taste of his own medicine before stealing his van. Later, we see James arrive at the address Kay gave him, where a suited man directs him to an elevator. As it descends, the door behind James opens, and a man tells him he's late. We're introduced to Zed, who explains to the room full of decorated soldiers that he's looking for the best of the best, and only one of them will succeed. Edwards holds his hand up to ask a question, which one of the candidates wishes to explain in a very condescending and judgmental way. Edwards finds humor in his response, explaining that all he did was repeat Zed's speech, and that he actually has no idea why they're there. Zed looks towards an observation room, where we can see an amused Kay. Later, during a shooting exercise, James shoots a target resembling a child. Zed wants to know what determined that decision. James explains that he felt his original target was merely working out. His second target was going to be a snarling guy, but upon noticing the tissue, he thought it was merely sneezing. But little Tiffany is in the middle of a ghetto with a bunch of monsters and is holding quantum physics books. That's kind of sus. Amogus. Zed seems to respect James's thinking, but when James asks him to get off his back about it, Zed appears to disapprove of the attitude, shaking his head as he walks away. Zed brings his concerns to Kay, commenting about James's issue with authority, which Kay relates to, mentioning he outran the weird eyelid man on foot, adding that alone should prove James's ability. Zed just hopes Kay knows what he's doing. As Zed leads all the men to one final eye exam, Kay stops James. He goes on to explain the origins of the organization that was established to make contact with aliens, and we see a flash indicating that the others have had their memories wiped. The first contact aliens were a group of intergalactic beings, with it being explained that Earth is being used as an apolitical zone. it is revealed that the World's Fair was merely an attempt to cover up a landing and that aliens continue to live on the planet in secret. James is highly skeptical and suggests that Kay get a CAT scan. Kay then enters a room full of funny little aliens saying, "Woonga!" James is shocked at the sight of these quirky little guys. Later, an undecided James wants to know what the catch is regarding the job. Kay tells him he'll need to sever all human contact, and no one will know he exists. Ever. He gives James a deadline to decide before walking away. James yells out to ask if it's worth it, and Kay tells him it is, if he's strong enough. The next morning, James returns to the MIB facility and tells Kay he's in, but lays down some ground rules. Kay quickly provides the naive young man with a reality check, before showing a map referred to as Observation, which displays every registered alien on Earth. James remarks that he always thought his third-grade teacher was an alien, which Kay confirms. Zed then gets James's attention and says, "Let's put it on, the last suit you'll ever wear." We then see James's records being deleted, along with his name, before his new identity is revealed, and we're officially reintroduced to Jay. Meanwhile, we see Mug trailing a finely dressed fellow, carrying his cat around in a bag. Back at MIB headquarters, Zed informs Jay and Kay about the crash caused by Edgar the Bug before an alarm sounds, alerting the agents to an alien trying to leave Manhattan. As they drive to confront the rule breaker, Kay warns Jay to never ever press the red button. We then cut back to the man with the cat, who is having lunch with a very tall man, who refers to him as Your Majesty, also warning him of the danger he's in, specifically mentioning a bug. Unfortunately, it appears Mug is their waiter, and the royal man tells the bug he can kill them both, but he will not find the galaxy. Mug admits he's right about one thing before piercing the man with a tail, needle, barb, thingy, and Your Majesty, then digs into his meal. The tall man then gets the same stellar service. He too digs in. Mug takes his well-deserved tip before leaving. The agents have caught up with the alien trying to leave Manhattan, with Kay asking for his other license and registration, noting that it has him restricted to the island and referring to the man as Reggie. He immediately blames his wife, who appears to be severely constipated. Kay has Reggie step out of the car and leaves Jay to handle the lady. Jay walks her through some breathing exercises, but things get kind of hectic. As Jay is yeeted, it turns out the woman alien was actually pregnant. My mistake. Kay congratulates Reggie, and the baby throws up on Jay. Kay found the situation surrounding them wanting to leave the island to be little unusual. A tabloid magazine leads the agents to visit Edgar's wife. She tells them it was as if something was wearing her husband as a suit. The mention of sugar water gets Kay's attention, prompting him to signal Jay to put on his glasses before flashing the woman with the neuralizer. Kay tests the soil near the crash, pleading, "Please, not green," as he waits for the results. The device flashes green and Kay calls Zed to inform him they have a bug. Meanwhile, Dr. Weaver, having conducted an autopsy on the royal man from earlier, is taking note of the oddities she discovered. Not only did the body's temperature increase post-mortem, but it also has no rectum. Kay then reveals both himself and Jay to the doctor with a fake story and made-up alias, before asking if there's anything weird going on. The doctor shows Kay the remains of the tall man from earlier, and she and Jay inspect the royal one together. We also see that the dead man's cat is now in Laurel's possession. She becomes suspicious of the two agents when Jay doesn't realize the dead man is missing several vital organs. She also asks if they've met before, getting a strange sense of déjà vu, a feeling Jay shares. However, she shares her theory that this man is merely a containment unit of some kind, and begins getting overtly flirty with Jay before finding some strange piercings around the man's ear. Jay decides to give it a little tickle, and the dead man's face pops open, revealing a control room with a little alien dude inside the big guy's head. In their dying breath, they share, "To prevent war, the galaxy is on Orion's belt." The little alien proceeds to die, and Jay calls for Kay, explaining what was said, and the doctor's flashed. We see Mug struggling to open the container he received as a tip, or stole. Once open, it's revealed to be a whole bunch of diamonds, which Mug isn't too happy about. Back at MIB HQ, the agents find out several aliens are leaving the planet, with one satellite revealing an Arquillian battle cruiser, prompting Kay and Jay to head off to search for intel on Orion's belt. But first, the agents arm up, with Jay being given a little midget gun called the Noisy Cricket. We see Mug breaking into a jewelry store where he begins breaking several cabinets, with a framed picture of the royal alien man's cat catching his attention. The agents arrive at the very same jewelry store, with Jay commenting on the man's strange obsession with his cat. A gunshot grabs their attention and Jay notices Mug, The agent fires the midget gun at the skin suit, and it turns out the gun has some kick to it. Mug flees in a tow truck, but Jay was able to hit the tow, freeing the vehicle that housed Mug's ship. Zed updates the agents that the Arquillian battlecruiser is requesting they hand over the galaxy. We're then introduced to Frank, who Kay has come to for answers. After some convincing, Frank admits that the royal alien man was a guardian of the whole galaxy, and the Arquillian thought he'd be safe on Earth. He also adds that the galaxy is here, and remarks that size doesn't matter. Just because something's important doesn't mean it isn't very, very small. Say the size of a marble or a jewel. Kay lets Frank go, and Jay, after seeing a cat, remembers the cat back at the morgue. We see Dr. Weaver notice the name Orion on the cat's collar, and she becomes mesmerized by the miniature galaxy contained within a bauble hung from the collar. Later, we see Jay arrive at the morgue and begin talking to the doctor. Introducing himself with a fake name and cover story, Jay explains that the cat is a witness to a murder and he needs it. Laurel doesn't know where it is right now, but suggests Jay take her instead. Jay is entertained by how forward she is, and the doctor reiterates her desire to go with him. Now, we see Kay notice a man stuck to the ceiling as we cut back to the doctor insisting Jay look at something. However, he just thinks she's coming onto him really, really strong. It's revealed that Mug is holding her at gunpoint. It finally clicks for Jay what she's truly getting at. However, Mug seizes the opportunity to grab the cat and snatch the galaxy, taking Dr. Weaver hostage in the process. She criticizes Jay for being so thick and misinterpreting her cues for help. Mug jumps out a window with the doctor and leapfrogs away, stealing a cab and forcing the doctor to drive as he eats the galaxy. Later, back at MIB HQ, the battlecruiser fires a warning shot at Earth, accompanied by a final message and a countdown. Knowing the bug is without a ship and is probably looking for a way off the planet, Jay asks if the discs at the World's Fair still work. The agents race to stop the bug, and Kay reminds Jay about the little red button. Jay presses it, transforming the car into a rocket-propelled vehicle, which Kay then drives on the ceiling of a tunnel to bypass traffic as Elvis blasts in the background. Meanwhile, we see Mug carrying the doctor over his shoulder as he climbs one of the towers. Despite wanting her as a snack for the long trip, he's had enough of her attitude and throws her into a tree as he continues to climb. The agents arrive and ready their weapons as one disc begins to take off, wowing nearby spectators. Jay and Kay fire their guns and successfully strike the craft, causing it to plummet and crash. Mug exits the craft and begins lambasting them for shooting the ship, declaring it's already victorious. Kay tells the bug it's under arrest, and Jay instructs it to place its hands on its head. Mug mockingly agrees to do so, before ripping off its skin suit to reveal its true form. The bug then snatches their weapons and gobbles them before swiping both agents away. Kay tells Jay that whatever happens, he needs to keep the bug on this planet. Jay then begins goading the giant bug into eating him. The bug obliges and proceeds to mostly ignore Jay, and just begins climbing up the second ship. Jay starts crushing cockroaches to get the bug's attention, mockingly pretending to be apologetic as he continues to crush them. The big bug gets up in the agents' faces, and Jay tells it to get out of his face before something bad happens. An electronic whirring can then be heard from within the creature, and Jay remarks, "Too late." The bug explodes, splitting it in two, revealing that Kay got his weapon back. The galaxy is secured, and Kay calls Zed to inform him they were successful. Jay hands the galaxy over to Kay, and the bug attempts to eat Jay. However, it explodes before it can do so. It's revealed that Dr. Weaver fired the shot that evaporated the bug, and she comments on the interesting job they have. Back at MIB HQ, Kay takes out his neuralizer and looks up at the stars, commenting on their beauty and the fact that he doesn't look at them anymore. Kay then tells the new agent he hasn't been training a partner. He's been training a replacement. He walks Jay through how the device works and hands over the neuralizer. Jay accepts it and puts on a pair of sunglasses. Kay offers him a goodbye with, "See you around, kid," to which Jay responds, "Nah, you won't," before we see a flash. Sometime later, we see headlines detailing recent events paired with a story of Kay waking up from a 35-year-old coma and reuniting with the wife he left behind. Jay is happy to learn of this story, and it appears that Dr. Weaver is now an agent with the Men in Black. The movie ends with a claim that Dennis Rodman is an alien, as the camera quickly zooms out, revealing a galaxy contained within a marble among a collection of many others. And that's Men in Black. Thank you so much for watching. Consider leaving a like if you enjoyed this recap, and be sure to subscribe if you enjobble recobble. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.